Hi, this is Kara Mayer Robinson. Welcome to Really Famous, where I talk to famous people and cut through the fluff to get to what they really think and how they really feel. My guest today is Annette O'Toole. Annette is a film, television, and stage actress who has been in dozens of productions. You may know her from Smallville, Nash Bridges. She was in Superman 3. She played Lange. Oh, and in Smallville, she played Superman's mother, Martha Kent. We talk a little bit about that, but just a little. You'll know why when you listen in. Right now, Annette is in a new movie called Women Who Kill. It was just released in theaters, and you can catch it on demand starting August 29th. Women Who Kill is a little bit creepy, a little mysterious. It's about two women who host a podcast about women who are serial killers. And yes, Annette plays one of those serial killers. Annette describes it as a sort of Hannibal Lecter type role, and yeah, that's definitely it. She is so good in this part. Very creepy, in a good way. This episode of Really Famous is actually pretty special for a few reasons. Number one, Annette does not do many interviews, but this one I think was great. She nailed it. She was great. It was really relaxed. I think she enjoyed it. I definitely did. So I feel honored that she said yes. She came down to my new recording studio. It's the first time I recorded at the Renaissance New York Midtown Hotel. Annette and I sat down in the Empire Suite on the top floor of the hotel, and it was spectacular. Super plush, luxe, great suite, and the views were insane. If you want to see the views for yourself, head over to the Really Famous Podcast YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure you can just go to YouTube and search for Really Famous, and it'll pop up. You'll see views of Madison Square Garden, the Statue of Liberty, the Hudson River, you name it, pretty much anything from 35th Street and down and west. So shout out to the Renaissance New York Midtown Hotel. Thanks so much for the accommodations. And another reason why this episode is super special is because it's the first time I have a spouse of a previous podcast guest. Annette is married to Michael McKean, who was a guest on the podcast about a month ago. Michael is also an actor. He's in the fan favorite Better Call Saul on AMC. He was in a ton of movies over the years too, like This Is Spinal Tap, Best in Show, and even dating back a little further, he was in Laverne and Shirley. He played Lenny of Lenny and Squiggy. Anyway, if you didn't listen to that episode, of course I encourage you to go back and listen to it, download it, enjoy it. You'll hear the flip side from Annette of a lot of the things that Michael and I talked about. So when you're listening to this podcast, every time Annette refers to Michael, she's talking about her husband, Michael McKean. So back to our conversation. Annette and I talked about lots of different things, like how Hollywood, movies, TV, how everything has changed over the years, the different kinds of parts she's had. She's got some incredible stories about auditions she went on, parts that she was hoping to land, who was always in the audition room with her, and who she knew would be a star the second she saw him performing. Annette also gets personal. She talks about her marriage to Michael, her kids, family, her childhood, and what she likes to do when she's alone. One last tiny bit before I give you Annette. If you like listening to Really Famous, please tell 3 friends about the podcast. Just 3 is fine. If you want to tell more, hey, even better. You can share the link through your podcast app. You just click on the icon that has a square with an arrow pointing upwards. That's the share button. Tap on that, and then you can just share it by text, email, airdrop, whatever. Or, of course, you can just say, hey, head to reallyfamouspodcast.com. The podcast is still super new. The first episode was released in May, so that's pretty new. So please help us grow so we can bring you even more episodes with amazing, famous people. Without further ado, here's Annette O'Toole talking about living in New York and LA. But you also sort of live in California?
It depends on where the work is. We have a house our main home is in California, in LA. But I've been here, except for 3 weeks I've been in New York, because I was doing a play earlier in the year. I went up to Connecticut to do a workshop on a play. I was just hanging out with him while he was in Little Foxes, just kind of being the housewife, and mostly because I love New York. And so I really have to get home and see I thought, oh, this is great. Before this play happened, I thought I'll go home and just spend the rest of the time with my mom.
Yeah, but no. But these are good problems to have,
They're
right?
great problems
You
to have,
rather have
my age.
not have the opposite.
Absolutely.
So what do you mean, especially, did you say
especially at this time of my life,
at
this age. At this age when most people are just saying, I've had enough, I don't want to do this anymore. So they... Are we taping, by the way?
Yes, we're taping. You're on, baby.
I didn't even know. I'll try to speak more intelligently now.
No, you speak like you... I'm going to tell you ahead of time. My goal is always to get a feel for, to give listeners a feel for, like who you really are.
Yeah.
The essential
That's
Annette.
great, because I hate these things where you hear the same things, the same stories, the same, like, I don't care about that. Yeah,
me
good.
too.
I'm all for that. Well, I haven't done a lot of interviews anyway, so it probably won't be anything that anybody's ever heard, even if it's
better.
Yeah.
So why haven't you done a lot of interviews? Is that by choice or?
It's both. I don't particularly, because of what you say. It's just always kind of stilted, and who cares? And they want to ask me the same Superman questions over and over again. That how many times can I say how great Christopher Reeve was? And I did. I loved him. I love him. He was an incredible guy. How many times? I will say that 1,000 times, I guess, but I'm saying it one more time. I'm bringing it up myself.
That's beautiful.
And he was awesome. And everybody has access now to all these interviews and to print stuff, that they never had before. You can bring up anything, so you can read all these things that I have said, and or at least talk about more interesting stuff that people want to know. Say something more, I don't know, like what do you guys do at lunch? Do you hang out at your trail? Stuff like that's like I would want to know about actors.
Totally agree. I'm glad you're into that too, because
Absolutely.
That's my thing too.
So I haven't done a lot of interviews also because I haven't been asked, and I don't tend to want to do that anyway. I don't go in that direction. The work itself is what interests me.
Yeah.
And when it's over, it's hard sometimes for me to even remember to talk what I did, to talk about it.
Right.
I will. I remember. I will access that. Everything.
All right. So you said you haven't done a lot of interviews before. So do you sort of wish that there were more? That there was more like superstardom?
What do you mean, for me?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Oh no.
That's not your style.
No. I've actually run from that. To probably my detriment, that I didn't. When I look at these young women now, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what they have to do. I couldn't be the face of L'Oreal or the hair of Clairol. I couldn't. Never. I mean, I was asked at one point in my life to do some stuff like that. It was never like what they do now. You have to show up at premieres and you have to look a certain way. You have to go on these shows and be funny and clever. I never had to me, that is part of it now. That if you want to be a big star, and I look at these women like Emma Stone and Jennifer Lawrence, and they're brilliant at it. And I think, how are they able to do what they do in these roles that are so taxing, and then do this other thing that is this whole other kind of talent that you have to have? And so many of them have it now. I guess because of how they're raised now. They're raised with this kind of technology and this publicity mad world. So they just do it naturally.
Perfect.
I can't get freaking verified.
Oh yeah,
So
I read that.
it's
You
ridiculous.
said that on Twitter,
I've said
right?
it over the years. All these years I've been on Twitter. It's obvious I am who I am, and I cannot get verified. I've sent in the form 5 times.
What's the trick?
It's ageism, okay? They don't care about older women.
Do you think so?
I think that's part of it.
That's
I really,
crazy.
really do.
So
and I think I'm not famous enough.
get out of here. There are people who are verified who are not famous.
I know, but I don't know what it is. They have something against me. Anyway.
But so you grew up in Houston? Mm-hmm. In like the city or the burbs or what?
It was the city, but it was not a built-up part of the city, and not anything like Houston is now.
What was it like then?
It was more like a small town. It's very much that sensibility of the neighborhood really knows everything that's going on. People are very close to one another. They're involved in one another's lives. So more so for me with my grandmother's neighborhood, which wasn't that far from where my mom lived, but my grandmother and grandfather's home was the hub, and they had 3 kids, and they were always there with all their kids. I spent a ton of time with my grandparents because I was the only child, and my mother was working, which was unusual for that time in that world. And so my grandmother sometimes would pick me up, or my mother would pick me up at school and take me over to her house. And so I knew I would just roam that, and you could do that now.
Yeah, that's such a cool way to spend those years.
Yeah, so I knew the little girl next door was a great friend of mine, and we just go all over the neighborhood, and it was a wonderful time.
You reminded me too of something that Michael told me when he was on. He was telling me that your mother, he's very close to her, and that your family dynamic and like how supportive of you are, of each other you are, like really moves him and has taught him a ton.
Yeah.
So that's true?
It's very true. Yeah, and my mother, every single time I talk to her, she says, "How's Michael? Where is he okay? Did he sleep last night?" You know, he is her child. And my mother my mother and father wanted 6 children. Big Catholic, family background, and my mother was not able to have children. So they were in the process. They'd been married 7 years. I mean, her whole, she went into this dancing school because her older sister kind of like pressured her, you gotta come to but she really just wanted to be a housewife and mom. I mean, there are those amazing people, that's their career, and that's what they want to do. And she was one of those people who should have done that. Unfortunately, she just was not able to have kids, and she would go have this weird procedure every month called blowing out her tubes or something horrible.
Blowing out her tubes?
Yeah, with some kind of water or air or some kind of weird thing, however they did it then. And they had just sort of given up, and were in the process of doing the adoption thing, and miraculously, she became pregnant with me. The second that they stopped worrying about it so much, I think that's when it happened. Could not conceive again. So, and she said the whole time she was pregnant with me, she said, "I knew that something was going to happen. You just weren't going to be there." And then she said, "And then I knew you were going to be a boy."
You have those maternal instincts.
Right. So she was very, very happy, and of course, when I was born, and it's so anyway.
That's amazing. By the way, I don't think that's uncommon. I think that happens to women a lot.
It does, I think.
When they can't, and then they just give up and relax or something. I don't know if there's some medical legitimacy to that.
Yeah.
But it does seem
our
like
brains, are so powerful. Maybe it's just that stress is lifted for a second, and you say, "Okay, this is the way we're going to do it," and you just make up your mind, and then something else happens. But I always wished that she had adopted after that, because it's great to be the only child, but it's also something I've felt this kind of bit of a hole, not to have that sibling relationship. So anyway, my mother has adopted my husband as her child as well.
But going back a second, so I would imagine your mom and you had a very special relationship from the beginning.
Very, very
obviously.
Close.
But why didn't they adopt kids after?
Well, she was very involved with her sister had 3 children, and they were all very close in age. So it was weird, because it was almost like she had 4 children. She would have them all the time. They lived 1 block from one another. So we would always be there. So it was kind of great for me, because I kind of did have siblings.
Sort of did.
Yeah, but then they'd go home, and I'd have my parents all to myself at night. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. But for her, I think she was very busy with this dancing school and with the other kids, and it just never happened. She just never did it.
So the plan was not what the reality became, but it was a nice reality, it sounds like.
It was a great reality.
So how did being technically being an only child, how has that stayed with you through life? How do you think that impacted the adult you?
I think it makes me very able to be alone. In fact, I prefer to be alone. The times that Michael and I are separated, he's good on his own too. He spent a lot of time alone as well. But I think it's easier for me, especially if I'm preparing to do a part. I pour myself into it, and sometimes I think it's hard for the other person when you're, even when the other person knows very well the process and what you're going through and why you have to do it. It's hard, and it's like at night when you know, he would like to watch a movie or something, I say, I'm going to go in the other room and we'll do some work. You know, but it's good for me too to have that in my life now because it balances me out. I don't get the blinders on as much when he's there.
Right.
I feel very close to my parents because of that. My dad passed away last year, but my my relationship with my mother is maybe sometimes too close. You know, I feel like I especially now that she's in her 90s, I have to she lives vicariously a bit through me, so I kind of have to report, what I did every day. But it's a great burden to have. My mother is an amazing person, and she's just. So I think that's mainly it. That I love Solitude.
You love Solitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's good probably, I would think that Michael is like that too.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much as you, but that makes less friction. Otherwise that could be sort of a situation.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but it's nice that you both go in your little spots or whatever. And it's sort of convenient then that he's all filming sometimes, you're all filming sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then you get that break too. Yeah,
it's interesting because we never get bored. I mean, we're desperate to get back together. And when we do, we really appreciate it. And then there are big chunks of time that we do have together. And we're like, I've never been with anybody ever who didn't bother me, a lot, who wasn't like on top of me, like wanting to, and it's like, we're just buddies. We just we like the same things. Although he likes Indian food. It's not that I don't like Indian food. I ate it one time and I got deathly ill. I think there was some kind of herb or something. It was right before we got married. I was so sick. I had to go to the hospital. I was up
That's bad.
all night.
So now you could never even smell it
or
anything?
I like the smell of it. I can eat like some vegetables and things. But he and our daughters go to Indian. That's their thing. Say, Mom's out of town. We're going to wherever, Nizam, that they like in LA.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for us to have Indian food.
And I love vegetarian stuff and eggplant. And I'm not a vegetarian, but I like that a lot better than he does.
Yeah, that works.
I eat that one. Yeah, I love tofu when he's gone.
So what else do you do when he's gone and you have your space?
I knit constantly. I'm a very, very passionate knitter, and this play that I'm getting ready to do involves a lot of knitting, which is convenient because it's a hard thing to take something like that on if it doesn't come naturally to you, because you have to knit and talk at the same time, and that's not always easy for people. Like if I had to play piano or something, it would be a big deal for me to go and learn all that, so even if it's just the fingering and not the sound. So I knit, I watch, I go to silly movies.
Like what?
That he probably would, not silly, but things that he normally, he'd say, I'll wait for that to come around. I went to see Maudie the other day, which I loved. It's this wonderful film with Sally Hawkins and Ethan Hawke. So I guess if you had Hawke in your name, you were in. And it was just wonderful. And it's the kind of thing he would have liked, but he would have wanted to go see Baby Driver. I was like, okay. So we never have arguments about that, because we both kind of love movies in general, and we'll see pretty much anything, except I won't go see really violent stuff because I don't like it. Just, some of it I can, like I went to see my friend Reed Birney in 1984, and it has a huge torture scene in it. And I just heard recently Jennifer Lawrence had to leave and go out into the she went to see it and went out in the lobby and was sick.
Oh, really?
It's so violent. That didn't bother me because it's so over the top, and it's a play. I don't know. There's something about a play I can see it better than I can. I say, oh, that's just part of it. In a movie, it's so realistic that it really bothers me.
So really, you feel it on like a visceral level.
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I do. Like my God, the piano. The end of the piano with Holly Hunter.
Yes.
I was so ill. I couldn't watch. It was horrible to me. I had to leave. It was. I never saw the end of that movie. But I was a huge Walking Dead fan, which is odd. Until the writing, I just kind of went down the tube. So I was
jumped the shark.
Yeah. But I love zombies. I really do.
Really?
Yeah.
So what are your shows that you watch now?
I watch, a show I loved, and I haven't heard a ton about it, and I hope it comes back, Harlots.
Harlots.
Harlots is a
heard of
show
that,
with
but I've not seen it.
Samantha Morton and the wonderful girl Jessica Brown Finley, I think is her name. She was the middle daughter who died on, you know, the show everybody loves.
Oh, Downton Abbey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. The youngest girl. Sybil, Lady Sybil. She's in it, and she's great in it. It's about, and Lindsay, not Lindsay, wonderful British actress. Oh, God. She's been nominated for an Academy Award. But anyway, Harlots is about whores in the 1700s
Oh,
or
wait,
something.
I think I did start watching it.
Well, get beyond the first episode.
I couldn't.
If you do, I almost didn't either, but my daughter and I were watching it, and we thought, oh, there's nothing, let's just watch the second, because the first one was like, I don't know if I like this, it's a little too arch, it's a little too, but it gets in, it's about the fact that these women, they were, this was a business, and they were doing all they could do, because they didn't want to be under the thumb of a man, you know, they hadn't been raised that way, they'd been raised in whorehouses, and it's fascinating.
Okay, I'm gonna give it another try. I'm gonna go to the second episode.
Yeah, and Samantha Morton is awesome in it.
Okay, cool.
They all are, all of them. It's like there's hardly, all the men are sort of, you know, well, they're the helpers, or they're the clients, or they're the buffoons they have to trick to get the money.
They're like what women normally are in films.
Yes.
Right? On TV. Okay.
No, I love that show.
All the roles are for the women.
I really do hope they get another season, because it's really great.
Yeah, I heard it was good, and that's why I watched it. Anything else you're watching?
Yeah. There's a ton of stuff, and I'm watching. Well, we're taping the new Broadchurch. And we haven't seen that.
It's good.
Is
so
it
far.
good? Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I loved that series, and
it's better than season 2.
Is it? You know, yeah, we watched season 2.
Season 2, I really liked a lot. Season 1, sorry, I liked a lot.
Yeah, season 1 was the best.
Season 2 is didn't feel right to me. Season 3 is back in sort of season 1
mode.
Positioning.
That's
mode,
good.
Exactly.
That's
good.
So
you'll be glad.
Good. I'm trying to think what else. I know there's a ton. I'll think of all of it when I leave. We still haven't seen Better Call Saul all the way.
Wait, what?
We've been so busy, yeah.
When you say we, you also mean Michael?
Yeah. We've seen up to, in fact, I haven't seen the whole, wait, no, I did. I've seen up to the whole episode where he's on the witness stand. He has that amazing breakdown scene, which is one of the most, it's so interesting to see someone you know so well do something like that. Because as good as everybody thinks it is, and it is, if you only knew how different that the real man is from that man on the stand, it's incredible what he did. I mean, he is such an amazing actor, and I know it, but you know, to see it all up there, it's really moving to me.
So what is that? What do you do? Well, like, what was that moment like when you saw it? When you saw that courtroom scene, for example?
I was just shaking my head. I was just kind of looking from the television to him. We watched it together, and I just said, I'm floored. I don't know what to say. That's amazing work. Amazing work.
I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what else to say. I mean, I was sitting on the floor where I normally am, and he was sitting on the couch, so I felt right. I was sitting at his feet, and I looked up at him and said, don't know what to say to you. But he doesn't like to dwell on it. We don't go into the process, you know. I remember when he was learning it. We didn't run that scene together. We ran some other stuff from the series together, you know, more of the snappy, you know, back and forth stuff that had to be quick. Yeah. But that kind of stuff, you normally, well, we tend to work on alone. And then it is what it is when it comes out of you.
Wait till you see the finale.
Yeah, I know of it. I know what happens, but I didn't. So that's where I've finished. You know, because we kind of like to watch it together, that show, and we haven't been together for the last few weeks since he finished The Little Foxes and went home, because he had some things he had to do, and I was in this play, so we couldn't be together. So maybe we'll watch one. Can't tonight. I got a show tonight.
Yeah.
At some point we will.
But seriously, it's gonna blow you away.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, I think it blew everybody else away. It certainly blew me away when I was watching it. Yeah. It was like, I would feel like it was the best episode of the whole season.
Yeah.
You know, possibly the whole series so far.
Right.
And it's incredible, and I can only imagine that knowing him who he is, right? It's like, I think for people who don't know who actors are beneath the surface, like how do they even know unless they're really moved by somebody, like
Right.
if it's a great acting job or whatever. But when you know the person and you can see that this is not the person, a totally different person that you're watching, I can only imagine.
It's an amazing thing. And he's so good in so, you know, usually if actors are brilliant like that, they're brilliant in one way. You know, like whether that's the dramatic, you know, or that's the action, or that's the comedic. He can do a musical. I mean, he is so brilliant in every direction that he's gone. I think because he came out of comedy, and that was the thing, most people knew him, and that's where he kept getting hired. They think now, oh, we never knew this side of him. It was always there.
Yeah.
It's just he would never get that opportunity a lot to go there. So.
Right.
And I think that's probably true of a lot of actors who we have pigeonholed.
Probably, and I think I've talked to a lot of people who kind of feel that way, like it's like the ultimate trap, sort of.
Right.
Is like to be pigeonholed or do something similar twice or whatever, and then it's like really hard to get out of that box that everybody's put you in. So did you watch him on, you know, when he was in like Laverne and Shirley? I mean, were you?
I knew him at the time. Yeah, I liked Laverne and Shirley. I would see him at I think we met maybe at Penny Marshall and Rob Reiner's house. We had
I've heard about. They used to have parties and
stuff,
right? They were like the couple.
I think that's where I met him, or maybe I met him at a screening. They were very close together, whichever came first. And I just remember he was always very nice, very sweet. I just got a great feeling from him as a person. But I didn't know him well, and I had never worked with him, not until we did this TV movie in 1997.
And the rest is history?
Not really. We just became friends. He was seeing someone, we were both divorced. I was still living in Ashland, Oregon, where I had lived for 14 years, and after the divorce, I stayed there for another couple of years, thinking, well, I guess I'll be here, and it became increasingly difficult for me to work from there. So I decided, and my kids were going into middle school and going into high school, so it was a good time to move. They had to change schools anyway.
Clean.
Yeah, so I was moving back to LA. I was always already in the process of that, so I didn't move back to LA for him, and I wouldn't have then, because we were just friends. And then I guess he broke up with the woman he was seeing, and he had stayed in contact with me after doing this TV movie through email. Just every once in a while I'd say, oh, Elvis Costello is going to be on blah, blah, blah. He knew I loved Elvis Costello, so I'd say, oh, thanks, you know, I think you'd like this book, or I just saw this movie, and, you know, just friendly. He was just such a nice man, and we'd made a nice connection talking about our kids on the movie that we'd done. And then one night he called me, and it was like, oh my God, I think he likes me. I think he really likes me. I did that thing that you never do, that you see people do in movies and you never do in life, but I did it. I went, my younger daughter was so sick. She was with me in bed because she had this high fever, and I wanted to watch her. She was 9 or 10. And so I went into the bathroom so as not to disturb her, and silent screamed and danced around, jumped up and down and screamed with no screaming. And I thought, oh my God, and I knew that I would marry him. I knew we would be together forever. I knew it. And we were married, well, we got married as soon as we could, because we had these families we had to find a place to live. And it was great that I was already on my way to LA anyway. So it just kind of, everything was aligned. So, you know, yeah, it just was an amazing, and all we could do was like, we couldn't wait to be together, to have our lives connected in that way. And it was really important to us to be married to do that because of our kids. We just wanted that to be this absolute definite commitment so that they could take each other on as siblings. And it was, there were hard times with that, but it was mostly.
Yeah, I can imagine there were some stumbles along the way.
There was some crazy stuff, but we all think back to that time as kind of an amazing, magical, because we know, you know, where we've gone from there. It was this wonderful adventure that we were all on together.
And short-lived, I guess. Now, in hindsight, you can see it was just such a brief period of time.
It was a brief period of time, but our girls, our older daughter still is living at home. She took 10 years she was working in regional theater and doing really, really well, and decided in the last couple of years that she really wanted to concentrate on her writing. So she came home, and it's great because we're hardly ever in that house. So she brought her dog, so she lives there. And
in LA.
She's sort of our resident, house sitter.
Yeah.
It's great to have her there, and also for my mom, because we know that she's there, and my other daughter now lives there, and she has her own place, but she's works in art direction, so she doesn't work constantly, so she's on call as well for my mom. So we're all
it's
incredibly close, and it's
yeah,
worked out really well. Our son's the only one who lives here. And he works at Trader Joe's.
Okay.
And he's one of the, he's been there a while now. He's married, and he's just has no interest in film or any, appreciates it.
Not instant, right? Doesn't want to get into the show business.
No, he's like our only normal person in the family. He did some theater in high school, but he never wanted to go in that direction. And he's
it's
so
not for everybody.
happy. And we admire him so much because we look at him kind of, yearningly, like, God, people can be happy and not do this silly, crazy thing that we do all the time.
So what are some of the ups and downs? Like, what are the things that make it crazy, this whole world that you're in? Show business or whatever.
Just the separation. That's the hardest part, is when, he has to be somewhere and we know he's going to be gone for 3 months and I can't come. And, that's really the only downside. It's very exciting to be at this point in both our lives, I think, and to be. Most of the work I'm getting is on the stage here in New York. So I've been so lucky not to repeat myself. I mean, the people
seriously
are like opening their arms to me and handing me stuff that I'm just thrilled to be able to do.
That's awesome. So did it take a while to get to that point?
Well, it's taken me quite a while, yeah. And it makes me think, well, I guess I should have just come to New York originally. What was I doing, wasting my time, doing all this other stuff?
Yeah, but you were in so many things. Like, you definitely had a career.
I did, yeah.
But this feels a little more settled to you?
It does, and now I had my family. I raised my children. I didn't.
Nobody else did.
Yeah, I was very lucky because my mom and dad were always around. So if I had to go to England to do a miniseries, and the kids were little, they would come with me. And the kids had an amazing time. They'd go to museums and they would just, see these, and they still talk about the places they've been. They remember them really well. So that was great. But I was very lucky. I never had to hire a nanny. I never did any of that. And when we were home, I was walking them to school every morning because we lived in a little town in Oregon.
Yeah. So you moved there after, when you were first married?
Yeah, when I was married to my first husband, Bill Geislinger, who is still living there and works at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival a lot. He also works all up and down, mostly the West Coast, although some back here too. And he directs as well. And so we moved there to make that our base. And then I lived there for 14 years.
And how long were you married?
12 years.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
Well, it was very difficult. It was. You mean the breakup?
Yes.
Yeah. It was very hard, as anything like that is. But we've gone on, and we are friendly. We just don't see each other very much because he lives away. But we always have a connection through the kids.
Yeah.
So, and I'm very glad he's doing what he loves, and he's he's also turns down work. I mean, good actors are hard to find, so he's doing fine.
I'm going to go back to something you said before, which is, so you were in all those things, and you're also saying that Michael is able to do this and that and the other thing, the comedy, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But you're the same way.
Yeah, I've been very lucky.
So you're in theater now, a lot of theater. You were in all of those, Superman, all those things that we are not going to talk about because everybody does.
We can if you want to.
No, but let's talk about the movie, the film that you're in now, which is Women Who Kill.
Yes.
Just opened.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, I was watching it the other day, and I realized that here you were a podcast guest in the movie.
Oh, that's right.
So it's like life imitating art here.
I didn't realize that.
So you were a podcast guest.
Yeah.
You were a serial killer.
Uh-huh.
But here you are not.
You don't know that.
True.
You never know what's going on.
So that is such a different film.
Yeah.
So you have been in so many different types of things over the years, and you've really been, in Hollywood and New York for a long time. Mm-hmm. This is the more of the modern film, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I loved that film. I saw it for the first time last night. I love Ingrid's writing. I love her take on things. I mean, it's just, it's sort of like, it's not like anything else. I see a lot of movies, and it is really nothing, like the pace of it, the theme of it, the combination of serial killer mystery plus, a very lesbian-oriented film. It was just so refreshing and wonderful and fun and smart. I think her writing is so good.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything really like it either.
No.
Although, like, the mood and the tone, it's very, like, sort of millennial, I think, as well. Like, it's a different era of films.
Yes.
Than the ones that, let's say, you were acting in when you were first.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, but you know what? A friend of mine who was there said it's kind of like an Alan Rudolph thing. And they're talking about it, and he was explaining it to her. She didn't know Alan Rudolph. And talking to her, and I said, I was in an Alan Rudolph film. Yeah, I guess you're right. I said, Annette, you've been in everything.
You have been in everything. How many things have you been in? Have you ever counted?
No, because it's like hard to know how to count, like, because you go in and you do a little cameo and something. Do you count that? I tell you, there's so much stuff I don't even remember, that I didn't even see. A lot of stuff I don't see.
That you were in, that you don't remember being in, or that, right, or somebody will tell you, oh, you were in so and so.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I did do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the best thing you were in? Thing you liked?
It's so funny. So that's like word association. You said that to me, and Marty Short's face came into my head. Cross My Heart. This movie I did with Marty, which was done like a play. We shot it almost in sequence, was the most fun thing I've ever done, ever. I loved him. I had I would go home with my face aching because I would be laughing so hard, because he and Larry Kasdan produced the film, and he would come, and Armyan Bernstein, who was the director. They were so funny just to be around all day, and then the work we were doing, it was just
good stuff.
Really, really a fun time.
So, was there any role that you wanted or that you didn't get, or like a role that you passed on that you are kicking yourself or kicked yourself for?
I mostly didn't get the parts I went on, and I think that's true of probably most actors. I think I at the time I was probably famous for being the person who came in either second or third for most of the big roles of that time.
That's great.
And Terms of Endearment, Body Heat, Urban Cowboy, Saturday Night Fever, which I actually wasn't officially cast in, but originally it was John Avildsen was the director, who just passed away, and Jacques d'Amboise was the choreographer, and John Travolta, who I knew a little bit just kind of from auditions. I was there at the Hollywood Bowl when John Travolta auditioned for it was either a tour or an LA-based production of Grease that he played Kanicki in. I saw that audition, and I said, and I knew him a little bit before that, I said, I've never seen anything like that. You are going to be such a big star.
Oh, crazy. So you could see it, and some people you just see it like right away.
Absolutely, and he was the sweetest person every time. So anyway, John Avildsen took us out to a disco, and John and I are dancing on the floor with the disco lights going on and everything, and going around with doing their hands like they're in the camera. And I thought, okay, I guess they were making the deal. And then I suddenly hear Avildsen's out, Jacques d'Amboise is out, it's a whole new crew. The only person they kept was John, and maybe they had cast some of the other guys. I was totally out.
Bummer.
Baden wouldn't even see me for the part.
Why? Like, that was it, just cleaning house.
Yeah. He just didn't see the part that way, obviously. That's totally his prerogative. That movie is his. That movie, I can't imagine anybody else in those parts. So, and then when you see it, for a long time I wasn't able to see films that I'd been up for that you really want to do. But then the other thing happens too, where a couple of movies I came in at the last minute to do because somebody either couldn't do it or dropped out.
Yeah, it's just the nature of it. Some you get, some you don't.
That's right.
And you have to just kind of stick it.
Yeah, and when you see it, and it's a great film.
Yeah.
And you see a performance that, like, I tested for Body Heat, and they said this girl Kathleen Turner got it. I said, who is that? Because when you're at the time, all these people you're up against.
Oh, she wasn't at all the auditions?
I had never heard of her. Well, there wasn't really an audition. They had asked us to test. They had asked like 5 people to test or something. And I didn't even see her that day. Okay, Ann Archer's coming in after me, and whoever else is coming in after me. And then they said, and I guess I saw a list, and I saw this name. I thought, well, Kathleen Turner, I don't know who that is. And then when I heard she got it, and then of course you see it, and you think, and what they told me afterwards was that they loved my test. They said, Annette acted it great, but Kathleen is what we want.
She just was
personifies
or embodies
she's
the
so
person.
Beautiful, and she was very much, to me when I saw it, that kind of Lauren Bacall mixed with whoever else of the Dorothy Malone, that kind of noir, Gloria Graham, that thing that I just don't have physically, and it, when the director doesn't see you in that, he doesn't see you in that. There's no, when I hear about people getting dressed up and going and saying, I'm this part, I say, no, you're really not. If the director thinks you are, then you are.
And so, terms of endearment, it was Deborah Winger.
Yeah, I went and I saw James Brooks many times. In fact, he actually talked to my mother on the phone because he was really into mother-daughter relationships that were very close. And I told him I was an only child, blah, blah, blah. I said, this is very much like my life. He said, can I talk to your mother? I said, Mom, this director wants to talk to you. She said, okay. So she talked to him on the phone for a long time.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's not typical, right?
No, and that's why I thought, this is great. This bodes well for me playing this part. And then I heard that Deborah Winger walked in the door. It's like, well, okay, I guess that's not happening. But I love Deborah, and she's brilliant in
So
that
who
movie.
were the women you would see all the time at these?
It would change depending on, I just would stick around and from decade to decade it would be slightly different. At that time it was, Carrie Fisher and Ann Archer and Deborah. Who else of the time? I can't even think now.
And who is it now, if it is happening now?
Well,
or does it not?
It's different because the stuff in film that I do now, I'm not asked to do those roles. There aren't many of those roles, and they go to those actresses, Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon, the big, in fact, they're doing the parts on television that I used to do, years ago, because there are not enough film roles for them. So they're doing those things. And
wait, what do you mean the ones that you used to do?
Like good parts in TV movies. I'm thinking of Feud. The people of that stature at that time wouldn't do TV movies.
Right, but now it's totally different.
It's totally different.
Happily do
They're
it.
desperate to do those parts. They're desperate to be on a TV series.
Is it because of what TV is now, or is it because there aren't roles in film?
I think it's both. I think there just aren't enough good roles for women of those ages. And so I go in for parts and stuff, like a recurring role on a TV show, a good script, good thing, and opposite an actor who I know is my age, but invariably they will end up casting somebody in their 40s. So
really?
much so now, yeah, that I think I don't want to go in for these anymore, because I put a lot into these meetings. It means a lot to me to go, even just to read. And but I am getting these parts on stage. So I actually prefer the stage anyway. So I think, well, I'm not going to do that. Why should I do that to myself?
Right.
But
like, why are you swimming upstream or whatever?
Yeah.
If you like it.
Yeah, what's the point?
The other way.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but I guess part of you still, you've always been in film and television.
And when you go in for something, if you're gonna go in for it, then it means you want to play it. I would never go in for something and not want to actually do the part. Mm-hmm. So you invest a lot. This is not sour grapes. They cast the way they cast, and I am getting work, and I'm very happy to be doing it. But it's also fun. I can't say that it's not. I enjoy working on these things. It's like an acting exercise.
So, like, speaking of role and acting exercise, so the role in Women to Kill, that's a really cool role.
Oh, it's awesome, yeah. It's different, and oh God, yeah. And I love Ingrid, and she, I think, kind of wrote the part with me in mind.
Oh, did she?
Well,
so did you audition or no?
No, we knew each other. She had this amazing web series out called F to 7th. which takes place in Park Slope, and it's kind of the same character that she is in Women Who Kill, although she's named Ingrid in the web series. And I play her mother in that. And out of the blue, my agent called me, and this was maybe 3-4 years ago, said, "Do you want to do this thing?" Sent me the script, and I thought, oh my God, this writing is kind of amazing. Who is this person? So I watched the show. The series had been out for like a year. So I watched it, and I just thought, this is incredible. I didn't even know what a web series was. I was so out of it. So I watched it, and I said, yes, I want to do this. I love the way she worked. It was her in the scene and directing at the same time. The camera guy racing around with us, and the sound guy carrying his equipment. That's who shot this thing.
That's cool.
So at some point down the road, because we just stayed in touch, we became friendly, and she was nominated for a Writers Guild Award, and she asked Michael and me to give it to her, or to be there to present it. Then she told me about this thing she was writing called Women Who Kill. She said it's about a podcast, but there's this sort of Hannibal Lecter part for a woman, and would love for you to do it. And I said, oh my God, please. So she sent it to me and just offered it to me. So it's like, oh my God.
So that's the kind of stuff that, wouldn't it be nice if it always was like that?
Yeah.
Somebody sees you in their mind while they're creating something.
There's nothing better than that, for them to want you, to have you, or to even write it for you. Oh God, it's great.
Okay, so let's talk about life in New York real quick.
Okay.
So when you're not, what are the things that you like to do? So we already talked about kind of what you do when you're alone, but alone, together, whatever.
I love to walk. I walk everywhere. I love that about New York. My life here is so different from LA. In LA, it's weird. You'd think it would be the opposite. In LA, I'm sort of a hermit. I stay in my house because I don't really like to go out driving that much. I cook a lot. I see my mother all the time. I see some friends, but I'm kind of this housewife. Here, I go out. I go see tons of plays. I have a lot of friends here from the shows I've done, and we get together after a show. We'll go see a show, then go out. It's like it couldn't be more different. It's kind of the life that when I was a kid thinking about being, I didn't dream about being an actress. I dreamt about being a dancer because I grew up in a dancing school, and I thought I wanted to be Gwen Verdon. That was what my life was going to be, like Broadway and dancing. But the glamour
and the culture
of it, to me, that's glamorous. Is to go to a play and go out after it and know these people. Go to Joe Allen's and I walk in and I know all these people at these tables. If I haven't worked with them, then I know who they are, and we talk to one another. And it's like, oh my God, I'm living my childhood dream.
Yeah, that's
of being
so cool.
In a group of artists who make this amazing stuff that helps people and inspires people and teaches people, and God, do we need that now. So yes, so I walk, I go to theater, I go to movies, we spend time with our son if he's available and not on a night shift at Trader Joe's.
Do you go pop into Trader Joe's and pick up some
I do,
waffles or whatever?
Every once in a while, yeah. I go to Trader Joe's so much more at home though, because they're on pretty much every corner.
Tell me 2 or 3 staples from Trader Joe's that you love, because I think word of mouth is good for Trader Joe's. I think some things are so good, some are like a hit or miss. So I always like to get recommendations from other people. I have a few favorites from there too.
Well, their wine is amazing. They only have the one wine store on 14th Street, but in LA, the wine is part of the store because they can sell it all in one place. So the wine is always a great deal.
Now you're not talking about the $2 chuck or whatever.
No, not that. No.
Okay.
No, I never buy wine over. I used to say $10, but over $12. I just won't. And they have some really, really great wines that are 12 and under. Tuna. I live pretty much on tuna, and I always buy their tuna in
like the blue can.
Mine's the green can.
Okay.
It's in oil. It's the albacore oil. I love their all their odd chips. Their pita chips with sesame, whatever they have. What else do I buy there all the time? All the staples, milk and bread. And
I like their plantain chips too. Have you ever had those in a little?
I have. They're very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love most of them. Oh my God, the peanut butter pretzels.
I know those. Are they like pillows or something?
Yes. Get the salted ones.
Okay.
And always all their nuts and things.
And their chocolates are good.
Yes. All their nuts and dried fruits, because I make my own trail mix. So I get what I like, because I don't, when you put one together, there's invariably something in there. It's like, I don't like banana chips. I don't like chocolate in there,
Yes.
Yeah, all there, everything. I love Trader Joe's.
Okay, so what is your best habit?
My best habit is flossing.
Every day?
Uh-huh.
Worst habit?
What I'm doing right now.
Which is?
Pulling on my cuticles.
Pulling on your cuticles.
Yeah,
your
and
whole life did you do it?
I don't know. I just noticed that lately I'm doing it because they're so freaking dry, because I don't get my nails done. I don't like that. I've gone through periods where I've had it done, but there's something about it. It seems very intimate to me, and it's like, I don't want somebody doing that on me. It's weird. So I haven't had that done in a long time.
Okay, so then you need some good thick moisturizer, I think.
Yeah,
like
I do.
CeraVe or something.
Yeah, you know what's great is Vaseline.
Yeah, or A&D.
Yes.
That's what I remember when I had a nurse tell me once, and I remember they were like, this is the best stuff for any kind of dry skin of any kind.
I remember that too. That's where I heard it too, is from a nurse.
First thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Tea.
What kind?
Vat of tea.
A vat?
Uh-huh. It's one of those huge, like a cafe au lait mugs that I have that whole thing, and then sometimes I have another half of it. It's English breakfast. No, it's not. I take that back. It can be English breakfast, but usually it's PG Tips.
Favorite lunch?
Tuna always. Tuna with hard-boiled egg and celery and a little tiny bit of mayonnaise and salt and pepper.
And do you put it on some sort of carb, or do you eat it by itself?
I eat it usually on rice crackers that have sesame in them. Or
from Trader Joe's?
Yes. Or, you know what I love from these drinks from Trader Joe's? They're, do I get them at Trader? No, I don't get them at Trader Joe's. I have to get them at Whole Foods. They're called Dr. Cracker. And they're these whole grain things, because the ones from Trader Joe's that are their version of it have like garlic or some kind of savory stuff that I don't like particularly. Yeah. Because I also eat cashew butter on them.
Okay. Last thing you do before bed?
Oh, read. Michael and I read to one another. So we, right now we're almost finished with End of Watch, the Stephen King book. He read 3 chapters. They were small chapters, so he read 3 of those last night, and we take turns reading. But I'm also read myself, and I'm also reading that enormous Barbara Stanwyck biography. It's like 1,000 pages, and it only goes up to 1940. So we have a whole other one, maybe 2 more volumes to before we are done. But Peter Gould gave it to Michael to give to me because he had just finished it. He was here in town. They were doing publicity for Better Call Saul.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and I guess he just wanted to get rid of it. He said,
"That's a
have
heavy
it like this," because it's like carrying around a huge dictionary.
So you don't bring it to read on the train?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the last thing you do before bed, you said?
Yeah, it's reading.
Biggest life lesson?
Ooh. Oh, God, that's a hard one. I think patience. I like to do things right away. My mother's that way. She likes to get things done quickly so that she can do what she wants after. But that's not always the best way. I think to not hurry up and get it done is it's better to wait a bit and see what happens and how things fall out. So I think patience.
So let it sort of settle.
Yeah.
Let the chips, is that what? No.
Let the chips
pieces
fall away they may.
Yeah.
One of those sayings. Take a breath.
Biggest flaw?
Vanity. Even though I'm really not very vain. I think it's the thing I most dislike.
It's funny because you say, like, the way what you're talking about, I feel like you don't like that stuff.
Yeah, I don't like it. Maybe that's why it's maybe I don't like vanity, and so and it was the first thing that came to mind.
So why do you think that popped up first?
Because I think it's the thing I find most unattractive in people that I don't care for, and whenever I see it in myself, I really tamp it down.
So you will sense it.
Yeah.
And say, that's that. Mm-hmm. Biggest regret?
I don't have any big regrets. I can't think of one. I don't think like that.
Okay, if you could change one thing about your life, anything.
I would have started a musical instrument really early. My mother gave me piano lessons, and we couldn't afford a piano. So I could never practice. I like to think I would have practiced. But I wish someone had handed me a mandolin when I was 5 years old so that I could have become as proficient. I went to see my friend David Lutkin in Woody Says recently, all about Woody Guthrie. He does this show and travels all over the world with it. And he's over at the Irish Rep doing it. It's extended, so I'm hoping more people will get to see it. But he's brilliant.
Say again, what's the name of it?
Woody Says. Not only is he brilliant and plays all these instruments, but he has 3 people with him who do the same thing. 2 of them are women. And I look at those women, I am so jealous of them because they can obviously pick up and play all these stringed instruments they play. So I've always been musical, I've always sung, but I wish I had one of those instruments with me, and I have one. I have a few mandolins now, and I can play, but I can't play like that, and I'm very, very envious of people who can.
So you want to try at this point?
Not the way they do
to
it.
really hone it. Oh,
No,
okay.
I do. I really try to practice. I did break my finger in a play. You can see it's broken.
Eeks.
And it's fine, but it was in a cast for 3 months, and a little funny cast. It was like a thimble. It was hilarious. But I couldn't play. No, there's no way. It was this funny little black kind of weird material that they had to mold to my finger. I broke it on Reed Birney in a play. It's Tracy Letts play. But so I couldn't play for a while. That was my excuse. And then when I was able to play, it was actually really good therapy for me to play. But now I went into a play recently and I had to learn a lot at one. So I have had an excuse, but it's not a good enough excuse. I should still be playing.
Oh, it's fine.
This is that only child thing where it's like, well, I should not be just sitting here. I should be doing something. I should be playing, or I should be working.
It's okay to not be doing something.
That's what I meant about patience.
Yeah.
I think that's what I mean. Just take a breath.
So do you ever just take a breath and like whatever, do nothing productive?
Yes, I started playing this ridiculous Candy Crush thing because I found that even though it's mindless, you can win. You know, there are things you can compete and go to the next level, and it's pretty and it's kind of mindless, but I can kind of accomplish something at the same time. And so that has been actually kind of therapeutic.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Therapy in any way you can get it. You can find it.
Absolutely.
Last question. 2 parts.
Okay.
Who do people think that you are? Do they make assumptions about you? What's the image that people have of you?
I think they think I'm, and they're not wrong. I'm approachable and maternal and friendly, because a lot of people know me from Smallville, and I played a very maternal role, and they come up and put their arms around me sometimes. They used to, especially when that show was on and people were watching it every week. And I found that very touching, and it made me really happy that older women would come over to me and they would say, like, our whole family watches this show together, and it's wonderful to have that family time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you appreciated that.
I do.
It didn't get annoying.
No,
do people
no.
still recognize you?
Yeah, they because it's in reruns, or they can watch it as they want on whatever it's on Hulu or something.
Yeah.
So there are a whole generation now of kids who've never seen it, who were little babies when it was on. So now they're watching it, and that's. Although I don't think they recognize me as much because I don't look like that. I don't have that red hair anymore, so, but it's funny, a lot of people recognize
people
me.
do. Is it in New York more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm with them. I'm on the street or I'm in the subway, and people sit there. A lot of times they think they know me from life, which is a great compliment, because you've infiltrated their subconscious, and they think that they really know you.
As a real person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Somebody that's the ultimate compliment, sort of.
It's great.
And who are you really? This is part 2.
Well, you're asking very deep questions. I'd like to think I'm an artist who is very committed to her family. Yeah. I think I just said what I hope I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we get to the essential you, do you
I
think?
think you did more than, this was awesome.
Okay,
Much more than I ever have before, and it was really fun.
Awesome.
It's sort of like a therapy session.
Perfect. Thanks for listening to Really Famous. I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast. Whatever app you're using, click the subscribe button, and that way you'll get every new episode. If you like this podcast, it would be great if you rate and review it on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening. Definitely follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kara121. And check out reallyfamouspodcast.com. There's lots of bonus features, links, photos, you name it. Thanks again for listening. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson, and this is Really Famous.